I'll now call the meeting of the Waco City Council on August 19th, 2025 to order at 3:04 p.m. Welcome to the work session of the Waco City Council. Welcome to all the people gathered here. We got a nice little crowd in the group here tonight in the gallery. Thank you all for being here. I see some familiar faces. It's fantastic. Welcome also to all the viewers at home watching on the Waco City Cable Channel. Thank you for joining us here today as we go through the proceedings. I'm Mayor Jim Holmes. I'm joined on the dais here today by our council members, Isabel Lozano, District 2, Josh Borderoux, District 3, Darius Ewing, District 4, and Mayor Pro Tem Andrea Bearfield is, I think, watching from home today, and George Chase is not going to be with us today. I am also joined on the adjacent dais by senior staff Bradley Ford, our city manager, Kristen Hamilton Karam, our city attorney, and Michelle Hicks, our city secretary. So we're going to start the meeting today with a moment of silence. Okay, great. The first item of business today is recognition of work session speakers. Do we have anybody sign in today, City Secretary Hicks?
No registered speakers for work session.
We do not have any speakers for work session. I think we have a couple for tonight, but not this afternoon. So seeing no requests to speak, we'll now recess regular session and convene into work session with a report from City Manager Ford.
Thanks, Mayor, and welcome everybody to our meeting this afternoon. Welcome all our online viewers as well. Before we get started, you'll notice we've got 4 members up on the dais today, which means we're running right at quorum. So if anybody needs to step out for a refreshment or anything, we'll be pausing the meeting based on that. So if we have to take a recess, it's just because we're not meeting quorum. I have one change on the agenda today. Actually, I'm going to request to pull item Resolution 567 from the agenda tonight. We'll be coming back at that at a later date. For employee recognitions, I have a couple. I'm going to start off with recognitions of our outstanding fire department. Obviously, some significant issues down in Kerr County occurred in July, and just wanted to recognize our fire members that went down to the Hill Country and assisted our partners in Kerr County. As council's aware, but maybe not the public, on July 5th, we responded very swiftly to a request from the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System. It's called TIFMAS. We sent down a number of team members. First, we sent down a reserve unit, Engine 30, staffed by Lieutenant Neil Cummings, as well as Engineer Travis Brown. They're in the back. You guys want to wave? Yeah, they're very shy. They don't like attention, but I want to recognize their work. They actually were joined by 2 firefighters from Temple, picked them up on the way, and joined 10 strike teams that assisted in search and rescue down in Kerr County, as well as assisted in responding to local 911 calls. They spent the better part of 3 weeks assisting that community. We also had Battalion Chief Sean Cavett deployed for 7 days as part of our All Hazards Type 3 Incident Management Team, coordinated by the Texas Department of Emergency Management. After he got done with a week or so there, Battalion Chief Chris Pachakich, I told you I was gonna mess it up, sorry brother, spent another week there supporting each of those. Both those team members have returned. Tim Jeske, our Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator, I don't know if Tim's in the room today, but Tim spent some time as well deployed and has since returned. Lieutenant Devin McPherson and firefighter Aaron Amos were the last team from Waco deployed, supporting operations as members of the Federal Urban Search and Rescue Program, Texas Task Force 1. You have so much to be proud of in these team members. Let me just say that. And lastly, but not least, of course, Chief Bergeson, who served in capacity as the Assistant Regional Coordinator. These men stood up to the moment and served Waco very well, and I just wanted to recognize their efforts. Thank you.
I'll just follow that with City Manager Ford with the comment that this had occurred, it was on a Friday, right, the early Friday morning, and so I instinctively reached out to the mayor of Kerrville, and who was actually, as I was reaching out to him, he was flying over the deal that was on a Saturday morning. And right after that, I reached out to Chief Holt, or Ryan Holt, Assistant City Manager Holt. I said, do we have people down there? And sure enough, and I was thinking, okay, we got a plan, let's get people down there. It's just Saturday, the day after. And Ryan tells me, we already have 2 guys there and a unit. I mean, that's how quickly the city moved on this disaster, and how I think it really exemplifies the spirit of Waco. Waco and helping Waco. And this was Waco and helping Kerrville residents and Kerr County residents in an emergency. So I really, as I posted that, as people do, as I guess states people do or whatever, I got more responses and said, wow, way to go. We've got the greatest emergency team, fire response team. That's one thing that Waco is very proud of. And you guys rose to the occasion and made me very proud, and as you guys do every day. So yeah, you guys help the city minute to minute, day by day, hour by hour, and you're also there to help disasters across the state, which makes us all very proud. So good work, guys.
Thanks, Mayor. Next update, I want to recognize a city employee, Danile Malvez. You want to wave? She doesn't want to wave either. She got the call today to come to council because something happened actually just a couple of days ago that I think is worthy of just praising Danile and really kind of highlighting the risks that we face as a government in cybersecurity. But she protected the city from a fraud loss that estimated at over $200,000 just last week. It showed a lot of intuition. Obviously, she followed policy, did a great job doing research, but she showed a lot of intuition to figure out that we had an actor that was trying to get a payment from a vendor. It looked very legitimate, to be honest with you. They had the right phone numbers, they had the right emails, they had the right contact information, but because she'd been through cybersecurity training, she noticed just a couple of things that just weren't quite right. And I think it just highlights, A, the importance of the investments y'all have made in cybersecurity, but also team members that really are smart and intelligent and doing great work. So I just want to say a sincere thank you. You've saved the city from a couple $100,000 loss. So thank you, Danilo.
City Manager, can you mention her name again? I'm gonna,
Danile Malvez.
okay, where are you?
In the front, right.
Over here. Yeah, I mean, all of us take, the cybersecurity training and all that, and you never think it's gonna happen, but you really gotta look at those clues, and maybe some of us aren't in the line of fire like you guys are in the treasury and cash management deal, but great job. I mean, you never think that that's actually gonna happen, but the training and all of the cybersecurity, I mean, we're being attacked all over the place, guys. I mean, it's from a cyber perspective, and there's a lot of money moving around, and we try to keep it as confidential and as safe as possible. But it's employees like you that are workers like you, professionals like you that really make us proud. Man, we're covering a lot of fronts here, and it's a lot of great people. But thanks again for your work.
Yeah, Mayor, I would echo that. As someone who almost fell for a scam where my boss tried to get me to get some Apple iTunes cards and meet him at a Walmart, I've got to say, I'm not always the most sophisticated with cybersecurity either, so I'm very grateful for not only you paying attention to the training, but using your intuition and kind of detecting those more scam-like aspects of that communication, because that's not easy. It's very sophisticated. So thank you for that, and thanks to our wonderful fire department for all they did and going above and beyond. It's just absolutely amazing. I mean, half of heroism is just showing up when you're called, going above and beyond, and then just making yourself available to help our other communities in need. God bless.
All right, and as we've had in recent council meetings, I've got a new employee introduction for you today. It may not be a new face to you, though, because it's an internal promotion that's happened. Mark Keeley, who's recently been promoted to Assistant Director of Parks and Rec. Mark, if you don't mind waving to the crowd. Mark joins Parks and Rec from our Watershed Division. He's a graduate of University of Florida, extensive background in agriculture and research, project management, team building, all kinds of great things. He's going to be a very welcome addition to Jonathan Cook's team over in Parks and Recreation. So we want to welcome Mark over to Parks and Rec.
City Manager Ford, I I sometimes often see Mark walking the river trail over lunch. My day job office is right there, and now that he's been promoted, I feel so great knowing that I can stop him on his lunch walks and point out areas that need to be improved along the river trail. So looking forward to it.
All right, and last but not least, want to recognize a very tenured employee who's retiring at the end of this month, I believe, in the next couple weeks at least. And that's Sue Gomez. Sue, will you wave for us? Yeah, Sue is an excellent representative of you, council, in terms of customer service. She served us for 31 years, right? Since October of 1994. She started as a cashier, worked her way up, being skilled and dedicated, moving into the billing department, and ultimately taking on a really difficult job in managing delinquent accounts on the utility side. As you might imagine, that's not easy. But she kept going and actually was responsible for managing the city's land management file, which is super important for accuracy in billing. In August of 2015, she was promoted to customer service manager over the water office, and most recently served as our customer engagement manager. Throughout her career, she's had a reputation as someone that gets the job done, no matter the challenge. And there are challenging customers at times, as you might imagine, and Sue has managed them as well as led the team that ultimately helps people get responses and feel confident in their water bills and confident in the city that's providing them. So I want to wish her the best in her retirement. Thank you so much for your service to the city. It means a ton, Sue. Thank you. Mayor and Council, I'll move into my manager's report. We've got one informal report on the agenda today. It's IR 553. That report provides you with an overview of our upcoming community survey, community-wide survey that Waco's taken on later this fall, utilizing the National Community Survey created by Polco and the National Research Center. This is actually our first year utilizing this survey, and the intent, as the report mentions, is to continue to use this over the years to gather feedback from our residents. And we're gonna be surveying particular topics and using nationally recognized methodologies and sampling processes. That data collection is gonna start in September, run for about 60 days or so, and we'll look forward to providing you with an update on the feedback we get later this year, ahead of next year's budgeting process. And so that will give us a key indicator of what our residents feel like should be our priorities moving into next budget year. We do have 7 public hearings on the agenda tonight. Clint Peters, Director of Development Services, will provide an update on those and later in the work session. We've got 22 resolutions on the agenda. The first one I'm only gonna highlight 2, is Resolution 568, which considers a nomination of our Mayor Pro Tem Andrea Barefield to the position of President-elect of the Texas Municipal League's Board of Directors. That's a big deal. Yeah, whistle on that for sure. Mayor Pro Tem, as y'all know, has a lifetime of experience and exposure to civic leadership, municipal government. She's obviously served the last 7 years as District 1's representative on City Council. During that time, she's led a number of institutions, both at the local, state, and federal level. You have a lot to be proud of, and this would just be the latest recognition of what a great leader she is. So there's a resolution on the agenda for that nomination tonight. If you've not had a chance to read it, I'd encourage you, if you're a member of the audience or watching online, really to read that resolution, because it would take a long time to document all the contributions Andrea's made to this community, but the resolution certainly does that. And not the least of which are, projects like renovation of Elm Avenue, the new STEAM Center in East Waco, the Bledsoe Miller Community Center, and many others that have taken place under her leadership over the last 7 years. So take a look at that resolution as you have time.
Yeah, as we were talking about it this afternoon, I echo your observations there, because the issue is Andrea, or Mayor Pro Tem Barefield, is being nominated for the position of President-elect to the Texas Municipal League Board of Directors, which is a pretty high role. And Mayor Pro Tem Barefield has been very active in TML. She's brought the skill set back to council and back to the city here to make us more aware and more and a better council on being aware of state level and really national level issues. And as City Manager Ford referenced, it's on page 196 and 197. I was thinking our letter of support here too, just Andre's been so great on this council. But in this particular role, I was thinking there'd be a couple of paragraphs, but this is 2 pages of single spaced, tiny print, of all the different things that Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Bearfield has done. A great asset to the city, and she'll be a great asset on the TML board.
Mayor, just building on your comments and that of our city manager, I think Councilmember Bearfield, our Mayor Pro Tem, is an amazing asset to this council. Has been a transformational leader for District 1, but also for the city at large. And so grateful for the service that she's rendered to both Texas Municipal League and National League of Cities, because I think the city sees a lot of benefit from that, not only in bringing back new ideas and perspectives, but also the relationships and what can be leveraged in those relationships. And so, I know she's in a better place right now, looking down on us from a Zoom, but I know that she blesses this resolution.
I'll just jump in really quickly and say, because we pulled it and we're pulled it for comment, that Mayor Pro Tem Bearfield is incredible at so many things that make her a really great fit for this. And I'm thrilled to have the resolution before us this evening. But I just want to highlight that I think one of her greatest strengths that will serve us well daily here in the city of Waco and will serve her well in the position with TML is that she is incredibly quick to learn, even quicker to seek knowledge and information on things that she's not aware of, and really, really slow to speak in those instances, which I think is a very overlooked positive trait, because she is not someone who comes in guns blazing and is looking to just assert herself for the sake of doing so. She oftentimes seeks wise counsel, and then from that point on, there's no stopping her. So I'm looking forward to her assuming this role as well. I don't know how she does it. She does it all really effectively, and I'm really excited to have her on our team.
All right, the last resolution I wanted to highlight is Resolution 586, which awards a contract to TTG Contractors for about $8.8 million for the Chapel Road widening project. Council, in the past, the city's investment in streets has almost exclusively been through our Better Streets Waco program, which focuses on upgrading existing streets, doing maintenance and repairs to existing streets. But a comprehensive transportation improvement program must also address providing additional capacity for growing areas of our community. And so for the first time in under a decade, this project, the Chapel Road project, will be investing in transportation capacity, meaning wider roads for more traffic to go. The $8.8 million Chapel Road rewidening project under consideration will reconstruct about 3,500 linear feet of existing 2-lane rural road between Meadow Mountain Drive and Ritchie Road, and turn it into what you're seeing here, which is a 5-lane urban section with 2 lanes going in each direction and a center turn lane, which will obviously improve safety, functionality, and aesthetics, while also we'll be handling replacing the aging water and sewer infrastructure underneath the road. These important investments obviously are responding to about 2,000 new homes being constructed in that area, 1,200 already built and another 800 coming. So that's in Chapel Ridge, Callan Village, Park Meadows South, several subdivisions going on in that particular end of the world. So excited to bring this forward, and we'll anticipate about a 24-month construction timetable on this project.
City Manager Ford, I'm very grateful for my fellow council members and mayor helping to fund this, and for your office in making this a priority as well. I think that given all of the development that we've approved along Chapel and Ritchie, and that is just blowing up on Hewitt as well, this is becoming a pretty big population corridor in West Waco and the Midway School District. I think having sidewalks here is really going to contribute to pedestrian safety, especially given all the children that walk to Chapel Park Elementary, which was converted from an intermediate school a few years back. And so I think this is going to be a great improvement, not only for motorists along Chapel Road and a swifter commute, but a much safer one for bicyclists, for pedestrians, and for everyone involved. So this is a major investment by the city of Waco in one of our fastest growing corridors, and I think one that will pay dividends for our residents and for our commercial partners as well.
Yeah, this is a big project. I know we try to hit them all over the city, and this one, Chapel Road, and if anybody's driven down that, it's such a narrow and feels very dangerous, and the fact that we're even able to do this and widen it is amazing to me. But it'll definitely, with both pedestrian and vehicle traffic, it's going to be great, and it's growing rapidly out there, and this, I think, serves the need that the growth is bringing out there. So, great. We're planning on it now, so everybody's happy about the planning. Soon we'll have orange cones out there, so we'll have some things to straighten out. It's always the deal where you're planning on it, trying to fix the road, everybody's excited about fixing it. When you get the orange cones out there, people aren't quite as excited. You're having to, but at the end of this deal, it's going to be great.
This will be a fun one because we're going to be in the ground for a while with water and other infrastructure, so. Mayor and Council, we do have 8 ordinances on your agenda today, all of which come on second reading. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have on the agenda today.
Any questions for City Manager Ford on the agenda? Okay, we will now go to the consent agenda, which includes resolutions 2025-567 through 2025-588. We are removing 2025-567. Are there any other items council would like to remove from the consent agenda? There are none, so the consent agenda will be resolutions 2025-567 through 588, but we are pulling 567. The next item on the agenda is work session items 2025-554 through 2025-557. City Manager Ford, will you please introduce the first work session?
I will. I'm going to invite Luke Hoslick, our CFO/Assistant City Manager, down to finish up his budget presentation that he provided at the last council meeting. This is work session 554, discussion of city manager recommended fiscal year 25-26 operating budget and CIP budget, and turn it over to Blue for just a few slides.
Thank you, City Manager Ford. Mayor, Council, good to be with you today. Really overall, we just want to briefly go over the fiscal year 26 summary, talk about a couple of efficiency efforts that we have. We specifically want to mention these two because there will be some right sizing and some service level impacts that you'll see over the remaining of budget adoption calendar, and then take any feedback you have. So the executive overview, Mayor, Council, there is no change to your revenues and your expenses as a whole. There's no changes to the budget since the last time that we talked. Still looking at on the revenue side, $652 million budget, on a $210.3 million general fund budget. Overall, 2.8% increase on the total, 3.2% decrease in the general fund on the revenue side. On the expenses, you have a level and balanced general fund at $210.3 million. It's a $14.2 million decrease this year, 6.3%. Most of that coming from the transfers out, which again, Council, is your contributions to other funds. That's your contributions to cash funding of capital projects. That's really the bulk of what your transfers out in the general fund are. Overall, you look at that bottom line, still at the $649.8 million, which is a very, very slight 0.1% increase over the prior year. Looking at how this impacts our average taxpayer out there, the annual taxpayer impact statement, you can see at the bottom line what the average home out there is going to pay to the city over the course of the year, $3,212.51, up $134.20 over the prior year, which represents a 4.4% increase. Look at the property tax bill, even though we are keeping a flat tax rate at 75.5 cents, Mayor, Council, because of the appraisal increases throughout the city on the average home, that is going to be a tax increase to the average home of $62.08 for the year, even though we are keeping the same level tax rate. Even though we are adopting slightly higher than the no new revenue tax rate. Even the no new revenue tax rate, which we are now under a current law that went into effect, we have to show what the the taxpayer impact would be if we adopted the no new revenue rate. So that's why we're showing this third column here finally. That would still create an increase for the average taxpayer of $33.08. So a $29 difference between the rate we're proposing and the no new revenue tax rate. Overall, if you look at the lines above, the average resident is going to pay a slight $5.61 per month more in their average utility bill than they did in fiscal year 26. Mayor, Council, really on this, I've had a lot of questions as we've done several interviews on the budget lately. Where do my taxpayer dollars go? What am I paying for? A lot of misconceptions out there, and we just wanted to try to provide something to where people can see and break down that average that average home paying $1,508.27. What all does that get you within your community? What are we paying for? And you can immediately look to the largest blue bar on this little graph at $621.79. That's your investment into Waco Fire and Waco Police. 41% of a taxpayer's bill will go immediately to fire and police. The next largest, $340.61, representing another 23% of that total payment, goes to paying for existing debt service. So roughly 2/3 of a taxpayer's annual bill goes to those two items alone, fire and police services, and then your outstanding debt obligations. So you have that remaining 1/3 of that $1,500 to pay for the rest of these services, which includes all of your cultural and recreational activities, all of the funding towards that's going to go out to subsidize some of your other activities out there like zoo and golf, transfers to your STEAM Center, the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame, all that's in your cultural and recreational activities. The street work investment that we're putting in, the transfer from the general fund being almost $18 million, represents $99.46 of that taxpayer's total bill. And then you can work your way through all the administrative and all the other public safety, all the public works functions that the city does. So this kind of breaks it out to show what that $1,500 annual tax payment for the average home gets you as a taxpayer.
Can you go back to that? I really like this. This is like if you were paying $1,500 in taxes, this is where it would all go. It's a nice representation. I just want to add that fire and police, yeah, public safety, very important for me
Very important.
in this council. When we say existing, that $340, that is really, those are public work projects. Those are CIP projects,
Those are your-
capital improvement projects that we're paying over a period of 15 years or paying out. So just to say it's a debt obligation, I just want to make sure it's clear to people that this is the Chapel Hill Road. This is all these other giant projects that we're doing, that we're leveraging over a period of 15 to 20 years. That's where that part of it goes.
That's correct, Mayor. A lot of these projects are intergenerational projects. They're long-term projects, 20, 30, 50-year projects that future generations are going to benefit from. So therefore, we are taking on the debt in order to spread out the cost of that benefit over the lifetime of that project.
Exactly.
Yeah, the thing that I like the most about this is that it clearly shows that, over or just about 70% of what you're paying in your property taxes is going to safety and quality of life. Between the cultural and recreational activities, I talk about this a lot because it was just an awesome part of the start of our summer. But I mean, every single one of the Brazos nights was packed out, and it's such a great value add to our community to give people a free and incredible experience. Once a month to start the summer off, and that's such a small piece of all that goes into that. But the existing debt obligations to cover capital improvement costs throughout the city, that's the infrastructure roadwork stuff that we've talked about. And then obviously, police and fire. I tell people all the time how proud I am of the investments that we've made in our police and fire and the results that we've gotten from that. And I've mentioned it almost every time we have PD and fire up here, but not every city council in the state of Texas and across the country are fortunate enough to be able to actively continue to fund public safety entities that they're really, really proud of working alongside and partnering with. And I'm really happy to say that we get to do that and say that here in Waco. So to see this chart is really, really great and helpful, I think, for people to be able to look at it and say, man, you know, the money that I spend in taxes, nobody likes paying taxes. I protested my property taxes this year. I joke that, you know, whatever deficit we were off from the projected budget, I'm like, you know, 0.002% of that. But I think people are okay with paying more for things if they know they're getting a good return on it. And I think this shows that.
Thanks, sir. All right. We've talked a lot about the efficiency efforts that we've had to go through this year. Fiscal year 25 started that process, the general fund looking for 12 million, and then following that into this planning year, fiscal year 26, looking for 24 million total in savings, coming up with that $32 million. You know, that does, there is a lot of shifting, there's a lot of spreading of services, looking how we can right-size our operations in order to fit all of the needs and provide all those services. But there will be some impacts. We wanted to bring up to Parks, within the Parks Department. The Parks Department was asked to cut $1.2 million, and they did through many different, you can see all the different areas where Director Cook was able to look through his operations and find those efficiencies, find where there's some cross-leveling of services that can be had. But a couple of those will result in some reductions, and you can see those down. But the reduction of the community center hours of operations, as you know, Director Cook was looking through this with his teams. They took a very data-driven approach to this and saw where patrons were actually coming to the community centers and saying, okay, instead of staying open until 9 p.m., there is nobody checking in at 9 p.m., so we're going to back off 1 hour. So instead of opening for those hours, we're shifting a little bit in order to provide any savings that we can. So they were digging hard into everything, into their operations. This is just one example of what they did. And the same way with libraries. Libraries took, again, very, very much a data-driven approach to this, looked at all of their hours of operations through all of their different branches and said, okay, system-wide, we operate about 217 hours. We can provide the same level of service to the same patrons for about 210 hours. Doesn't seem like a whole lot in those 7 hours, but that reduction it was critical for the libraries to reach their efficiency goals. So all of these little things, these service level impacts, the way that our directors really took this upon themselves and made this their own in order to look at their operations and making sure that we are providing the services that our residents deserve was a great task to be able to come up with the scheduling changes that they did. So Mayor, Council, with that, a couple of key council dates as we look forward. We're here at the August 19th City Council meeting. All the updates that we had were given in this presentation. September 2nd, regular City Council meeting, we're going to have our budget public hearing, the budget adoption tax rate public hearing, and the first reading of that tax rate ordinance. We'll come back again as statutorily obligated 7 days later for the second reading of that tax rate ordinance at a special council meeting on September 9th. So overall, Mayor, Council, you've seen these budget summaries, the highlights from the budget. Again, $650 million, representing a very, very modest 0.1% increase. For everything that we've put in, all the capital, the efficiencies have really helped us level set and right size our operations to be able to keep this budget as flat as possible. Looking at the out years, you know, we think that this is one of the most responsible budgets that we can put forward to you and that we can recommend. And with this, Council, I will stop and take any directions or feedback you have.
Any questions for Blue on this, Council?
Blue, I appreciate the presentation. I know that there were some key additions like that, you know, pie chart that are outside of the norm of what we ask city CFOs and accounting departments to do. So I appreciate that. It certainly makes our job easier, the clarity at which you explain these things, and just your availability to help out whenever we do get difficult questions or run into something we're not sure we understand. So I appreciate the time you put into this, and I said at the last meeting, it never really ends for you guys in your department. I'm sure, next month we've got more things to finalize and sign off on. You got to provide more documentation for, and as soon as you finish with that, you go into audit. So
You get to start audit already. So
yeah,
we're
it's great.
rolling.
We same thing with I mentioned with police and fire. We get to be really, really proud of the budgeting and accounting that we get here at the City of Waco, and a lot of that starts with you, and I appreciate that.
We've got a great team. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Blue, we've been talking about this for the last 3, 4, 5 months now. But anyway, I appreciate the work you're doing because it's a big challenge. We want to continue to deliver best-in-class services. And we want to reward our high performers, and we want to keep the tax rate flat. We don't want to raise the tax rate. So with that challenge in an inflationary environment, in a rising cost environment, was a hell of a challenge to throw at you guys, City Manager Ford and CFO Koslich. And I appreciate the work you did, because that naturally leads to, if you don't have more money, you have to look and see where to be more efficient. And with that continued delivery of best-in-class services, you just have to figure out where do we get more efficient. So you got, looking back at, the data, I like how you're like, hours used, and when are these, if there's nobody there at the park or the library or whatever, then you got to figure out how to maximize that and how to get more efficient on that service. So I appreciate the work. It's not easy to figure out where to cut. And we've had some open positions over the last couple of years where when you have that, you actually have managers and employees that we already have stepping up, to help fill in that role. So I commend our staff and all of our employees at the City of Waco for helping make this happen. It takes everybody. And we haven't talked about this in a while, but with a emphasis on improved systems and processes, which I know it's not as visible to people, but we've been concentrating on that for the last year or two as well, which helps us be more efficient when we have a better process and a better system. And this is oftentimes software that we've invested in. So all good stuff. And we put ourselves in a good position for continued growth in the city, which we're very excited about. So I think you put a good budget together, and look forward to talking about it one more time.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's it. City Manager Ford, will you please introduce the next speaker? It's work session 2025-555.
Yes, sir. We've got a discussion of Prosper Waco and the Behavioral Health Leadership Team, BHLT, related activities, accomplishments, and proposed funding. I'm inviting Assistant City Manager Ryan Holt, as well as Jessica Addis, CEO of Prosper Waco, back up to the table. Thank you for allowing me to delay you from last meeting and bring you back. Excited to hear this update, Council. You originally approved the first of 3 funding years in 2024 alongside partners at McLennan County, Ascension Providence, Baylor Scott & White, Waco Family Medicine, and the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network to fund these initiatives. And so today, Ryan and Jessica are going to tag team, but Ryan's going to provide an overview of Waco's financial commitments around behavioral health, as well as some of the outcomes, and Jessica's going to provide an update on the activities and accomplishments of the BHLT, along with a continued funding request. And I just want to say I really appreciate Prosper Waco, and particularly Jessica's leadership around this topic. She sits with leaders of great stature on a regular basis and tries to lead the way towards great activities in behavioral health, and that's not an easy challenge. And so, Jessica, I appreciate your work there. And look forward to the presentation. Ryan, you want to kick us off?
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager, appreciate the opportunity to be here with Jessica. As Mr. Ford said, we'd really like to just give you some context early on of the presentation as to where you invest in behavioral health in the community. There really are 2 primary interface agencies for us at the city in behavioral health, and one, of course, is Prosper Waco, and the other is the Behavioral Health Network. The number 1 interface department we have is the police department. As far as investments go, historically, Prosper Waco has received an outside agency contribution, and then last year was the first year of 3 total years for the behavioral health leadership team, and the first year was $200,000, and there's an agenda item on your agenda today for the second year of that. The Behavioral Health Network, as part of the response to COVID, the city provided $3 million of ARPA money towards the Crisis Center that opened in May of 2024, and we'll talk about some of the successes related to that investment. The Reintegration Roundtable was started in 2012, and historically has been about $65,000 a year to that. We're one of a couple of different investors in that initiative. Medical clearance for when officers take somebody into custody under an emergency detention order. That's when somebody's a danger to themselves or others and needs immediate evaluation. That medical clearance at the Crisis Center can mean the difference between a quick evaluation or going to one of the emergency departments and sitting for sometimes 10, 12, 15 hours in that line. And so there's an investment there of $80,000 a year. A few years ago, we found that we were spending an inordinate amount of time on those emergency detention order transports, sometimes having to transport those patients as far away as El Paso, Big Spring, Rusk, and Austin, and we spend about $117,000 on average on those emergency detention order transports. That frees up your police officers to get back to doing good work on the streets. As far as programs within the police department, Chief Victorian started a program in February of 2024 working with Behavioral Health Network to create a dispatch diversion program. And this is based on programs that have had good success in other jurisdictions in the past. So far, just since February, that team has diverted over 1,000 calls for service. Ultimately, about half of them needed a police response after they had been evaluated, but most of the time that police response is something less than what it would have been otherwise. And then you can see the other half are some kind of other response other than a full police response. And so those, we've often said you don't necessarily want your police department to be the entrance into your behavioral health system. And so Chief Victorian has found good success with that diversion program, and the Behavioral Health Network has actually found additional funding to start a second full team of dispatch diversion. So we're likely to see continued expansion of that program with fantastic results. I've personally been around this topic for over 20 years, and we started really digging in and tracking data in 2007, 2008. This graph shows a couple of particular types of calls for service that the police department responds to, and those are suicide in progress calls or those calls that result in an emergency detention order. So there are often plenty of other police calls that could have behavioral health in them, but it's hard to track if they come out as a disturbance or a theft or something like that. But for sure, we know if it comes out to the officers as a suicide in progress call, then behavioral health is certainly a part of that. You can see that those numbers peaked around 2019 with over 974 that year. That's about 3 a day, every day of the year. Somebody called in saying they wished to hurt themselves to the point that it was considered a suicide in progress. The good news is, and there is good news in these next 2 slides, that through the work of Prosper Waco and BHLT and Behavioral Health Network and the good folks at the Waco Police Department and others, they are driving the numbers down and the cost down slowly. This particular slide shows the total number of hours that the police department spent on those types of calls. Again, you see in 2021, exacerbated by issues with COVID, it peaked in 2021 with over 4,800 hours of officer hours on emergency detention orders. Something to consider in that is that the average length of call was 11.52 hours. So that's 11 hours, 11 and a half hours that officers spent with one behavioral health consumer being evaluated for an emergency detention order. Now, 11 and a half hours sounds like a lot. That's more than a shift for those officers, but the longest was 72 hours for a single call, and there were a number of those that were that length.
Does
good
that,
news is-
does that often involve sitting with them in a healthcare facility
It
as
certainly
they're
can.
awaiting
Yep.
evaluation?
Yeah, and something to keep in mind is if it's sort of your run-of-the-mill emergency detention order call, that's 2 officers. If it's somebody because of challenges, they're seen as violent, that could be as many as 4, 5, 6 officers for that period of time.
Thank you.
The good news is, through a lot of efforts by a lot of agencies, including BHLT and Prosper Waco, we're driving those numbers down. As you can see in 2024, the average length of call in 2024 was only 3.5 hours, and the longest call for that period was only 20 hours. So that translates directly to costs for the city of Waco and the taxpayers. As you can see in 2021, emergency detention order calls alone were costing $336,000 in officer costs. Again, that's making some assumptions, 2-person call, nothing out of the ordinary, so to speak. Those suicide in progress calls also peaked, and as you can see in 2024, really driving that cost down. We extrapolated 2025, so we could see the same decline, but if we just see a small uptick in 2025 from 2024, we're still doing really good work. And frankly, like I said, if somebody's been around this for more than 2 decades, the role that BHN, BHLT, the mayors on the BHLT, and other members, and the work of collective impact that Jessica brings to the table with Prosper Waco is a huge part of that. And I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Thank you so much, Assistant City Manager Holt. Take this from you. Well, Mayor, council members, City Manager Ford, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I just really want to start by recognizing the city's leadership in launching and sustaining some really key behavioral health investments. As you saw in that first slide, you all have really put significant funding and dollars into strategies where you're seeing impact. And so I really thank you for thinking outside of the box and recognizing that creating a healthy community creates a vibrant community. We have folks like Assistant City Manager Holt, who has been tracking some of this data for so many years, and you have great leaders in the city, from Chief Victorian, Assistant Chief Wallace, Commander Long, all of whom who are leaning into this work. It's really part of what makes the behavioral health leadership team so special. It's getting leadership to boots on the ground and the community at large, all pulling in the same direction. And so you can see, that none of the things that Assistant City Manager Holt can happen in a vacuum. The impact of the Dispatch Diversion Center, bringing about such a win for officers, for individuals in crisis, and for the entire community. The reduction in suicide-related calls, real people receiving timely care instead of being caught in a cycle of emergency response, EDOs on a downward trend. This means officers spending fewer time spent tied up in transport and paperwork and more time back in the community, keeping our neighborhoods safe. And really, we know that none of that could happen in a vacuum. Many of these gains are made possible through the work of so many people working across and within systems, and much of that work happening within the structure of the behavioral health leadership team. This BHLT is really a cross-sector coalition jointly funded by the entities that you see on the slide in front of you, as you know, all committed to improving access to care, reducing crisis response, and building a coordinated system. Each of these partners has committed resources because they know that only by working together can we address the biggest challenges. And we're starting to see the improvements and wins that tell us that there is a real ROI to this work. So for the work of the BHLT, how do we get there? It's not haphazard, but an intentional process and a model comprised of those elements you see on the slide before you now. From creating a common agenda, a shared goal, and a vision that can serve as our North Star, we're able to identify evidence-based strategies to tackle the biggest challenges that we see when we look at data disaggregated and across systems. You'll see on the next slide the North Star vision, our common agenda, to ensure that every person in Waco and McLennan County with moderate to severe behavioral health needs receives timely, high-quality care from a licensed clinician. This isn't just a health goal, it's a public safety and economic productivity strategy. So in the year one, the BHLT Steering Committee, comprised of leaderships from all of those organizations that we saw, the funding partners or core partners, identified shared priorities and metrics that allow us to evaluate our process. We've developed data sharing agreements across sectors, law enforcement, hospitals, schools, and we're beginning to collect baseline data to track impact over time. On these next slides, we see the metrics, and these metrics are practical. How many individuals are diverted from jail into treatment? How many are waiting for inpatient services while incarcerated and complete the jail time without a bed becoming available for the intensive inpatient services they need? They leave untreated, and the cycle continues. This data that we have worked with our partners to identify and will be collecting helps us to target our efforts, avoid duplication, invest dollars strategically, and help us keep people from falling through the cracks, all as we build a coordinated, efficient system. So as we look over the last year, in the past year, Prosper Waco has convened more than 25 meetings of the Behavioral Health Steering Committee and action teams and ad hoc task forces. We've supported on-the-ground problem solving, like identifying barriers to expedited medical clearance for those who are brought to the diversion center, and working with partners to change workflows to improve those processes. Through that work, we saw a tremendous uptick in the number of individuals who were able to be medically cleared at the Waco Family Medicine Clinic at the diversion center, keeping them from being sent to the emergency rooms, adding to the emergency room congestion. We've also coordinated with skilled nursing facilities at the request of one of the mental health judges in the county, helping us to reduce unnecessary law enforcement intervention and response at the skilled nursing facilities, as well as identifying gaps in the crisis in the systems that need attention. We've also helped to align community partners at the leadership level. Through that coordination and with tremendous leadership from State Representative Pat Curry, we were successful as a community in helping to secure $5 million in new state appropriations, a direct result of this aligned advocacy grounded in community needs and data. So how will we use those dollars? Having done the work of identifying our shared priorities, our North Star vision, and looking at the data, that has helped us to understand our biggest challenges. And so now with the new dollars available, the process of identifying how to allocate those dollars was made much easier. Each one of the strategies that you see here is directly tied to our North Star statement, to our common agenda, and one of those 7 priorities. So we'll be able to fund, and we're still working through this with HHSC and of course with the excellent leadership at BHN and their CEO, Ryan Adams. And again, with the tireless support and advocacy of Representative Curry, but funding a comprehensive behavioral needs assessment so that we can really help see where are the gaps and what are future opportunities for increased state funding. Directing dollars to child and adolescent behavioral health and school-based screening, expanding inpatient bed capacity for uninsured McLennan County residents. We're also really proud and excited to be able to support the City of Waco Police Department and fire departments in standing up this multidisciplinary response team. This is something that as Chief Victorian and Assistant City Manager Holt and so many of the leadership within PD have learned and seen this model having tremendous impact in places like Denver and across the nation. We're bringing together a mental health clinician, a law enforcement officer, and what's the other? I'm just drawing a blank.
Paramedicine.
What paramedicine? Went off script. Can really help to be preventative and reactive, but especially preventative for our frequent systems engagers. So again, these are dollars that will come back into standing up that work that within the PD. And then allocating money to jail discharge medication and care coordination for our highest acuity exiting inmates. So we're really proud of that accomplishment and really excited to get to continue to support that work. As we look ahead, we're committed to building on the momentum. In year two, with your continued support and funding, we'll work to support the behavioral health needs assessment process and begin organizing around its recommendations. We'll also track the performance and outcomes of initiatives funded through the new state appropriation and continue to manage the day-to-day coordination that keeps all of this work moving. And it is a lot of day-to-day coordination. It's a lot of herding of cats. City Manager Ford mentioned the big personalities. I consider it a tremendous privilege to get to work with and learn from the leaders with whom I sit at the table all the time. And it is a lot of fun to get to try to coordinate all of that work. So, you talked, Mayor Holmes, earlier about systems change and investing in the systems and processes to have the biggest impact and to be most efficient. And that's what I see with this work. This work is not about Band-Aids, it's about systems change. It's long-term work, but we're starting to see the payoff, and I'm just thankful to your leadership and the community's deep collaboration and for seeing the early wins to build a foundation for even greater impact and growth. So, thank you.
Great presentation. Any questions, council members?
Yeah, appreciate this great work. I mean, this shows just how well together the different governing entities and healthcare providers and nonprofits work in our community to solve these kind of complex and vexing problems. I appreciate the city's participation with the BHLT, with BHN, with Prosper Waco in making such a difference on so many fronts, and I appreciate us working with our legislative delegation too to bring some state and federal dollars back into Waco McLennan County to help us solve these problems. So thank you all both. Really appreciate the good work.
Councilman.
Yeah, I'll second that, and just, I feel like I'm just heaping praise this evening. I don't know if I'm in a generous mood or what, but I feel like Waco continually throws Prosper Waco a full plate, and you guys send back a clean one. I don't know how you continue to operate at such a high level for the sort of the wide scope of things that your organization continues to tackle. This, I think is maybe not from the herding cats that you mentioned, but just operationally, so much of what you do outside of this helps to make a lot of this work possible, from data collection to other organizations that you work alongside and support, and just relationships that you've worked really hard to cultivate in the community. So really, really thankful for you and Prosper's work on this and convening these meetings that have led to really great outcomes that go beyond trackable dollars and cents, but the dollars and cents is, it makes it easier for us to keep looking for more money we can give you for this kind of work. So thank you for tracking that, as well as moving forward full steam ahead on continuing the work.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
I also agree with them. Just thank you for the work you're doing. Great work for our city.
Oh, thank you, Councilwoman Lozano. It truly is a privilege.
Yeah, great presentation, Jessica and Ryan. And I'm part of that BHL team also. It's been very rewarding to see how it all works. But it really starts out with that emergency response and who do you dispatch to an emergency? And it's been historical that it's law enforcement, so because they got to figure out inappropriately to stabilize the situation. But what happens, what happens after that? Or immediately thereafter. And we're trying to get smarter about, as other cities are too, about getting the right people in the right roles, which is why we see the rise of behavioral health and the focus that we have on it here in the city of Waco and for all of Central Texas, to have that behavioral health component that really helps everything become a little more efficient and meaningful. Because it's, the horror story of having 20, you still had one at 20 hours where a law enforcement officer doing his job, for 20 hours, where somebody maybe a behavioral health specialist would have been the more appropriate person. But So I see this heading in the right direction, and it's all because we have this sort of team that's been thrown together, and Prosper Waco has managed the kind of the process of where we're trying to go with it. Because it really ends up being a win-win. I like the data that we have here. We can show with behavioral health coming in, law enforcement wins because they're better deploying their people to law enforcement issues. We just become more efficient. But the real win, and maybe the more important win, is it's best for that Waco resident too. That person doesn't need a law enforcement officer sitting next to him. He needs a behavioral health specialist attending to him. So of the work that I've done as mayor and the other ones, this one has been a super rewarding team and a great team that you put together on the BHL. I'm the least important person in there by far. In fact, I'm so happy when Holt shows up because I have to kick him under the table every 5 minutes. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is that acronym? And you're always helping me there. And Chief Victorian has been an important part of that too. Jessica, obviously. And the three leaders from the three big hospitals, Lancaster, Patterson, and Adams, have also been very helpful in this group, as well as Judge Felton and as Jessica mentioned, State Representative Curry and his work on getting this extra $5 million to really track this project. So super excited about it, and I'm glad that the city's done some meaningful capital support in keeping this thing going. So great report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks again. The next item is work session 2025-556, City Manager Ford.
Yes, sir. Our next one's the discussion and update on the Alice Martinez Rodriguez Park Development Project, including final bidding results and project scope. Inviting Jonathan Cook, our Director of Parks and Recreation, down to present an overview of this exciting project. And it's a special one, obviously, for its namesake and impact on South Waco, as well as being the city's largest investment in parks in one single project in our history. It's a big deal. We've made it through design and bidding, and tonight Jonathan's going to present the recommended award and walk you through some of the updated imagery to give you an idea of the vibrancy of this park. I do want to say a special thanks. I know Jonathan's been leading the way very efficiently through this with some oversight and help from Deputy City Manager Deidre Emerson. I know that's been helpful to him, as well as we've got a team on the private side helping us called the Cummings Group. And so it's been a unique project team that I think has really allowed us to expedite. And I want to say thanks to Jonathan's leadership in that as well. Take us away.
Thank you, City Manager Ford, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to provide an update on just a really inspirational project that we have going on. And to be able to come here today is it's a project we've come here before and talked about, but today really showing signs of progress in the park and the transformational project that we're about to deliver. And so excited to be here is look at a couple items. We are on your agenda today, agenda items 576, I believe, through 578, all related to this park project. And mainly we're looking at consideration of 576. As Bradley mentioned, we have gone through and collected the bids, and so want to present those proposal and summary recommendations today. We'll start with the project background of how we got here, but then with the bids in now and moving forward, give you a full idea of the budget and scope and that preview of the park and those next steps as we're at the point where we're really going to get out there and we're going to be talking groundbreaking and construction hopefully soon. Project background and what started, often referred to is Floyd Casey or perhaps Hart Patterson giving a nod to the former site, now fully recognized and honored as Alice Martinez Rodriguez Park. And quite simply, this is going to transform 30 acres of open space that we have in the heart of our city. into an inclusive and regional park. And I mentioned the word, and I often use it in our meetings, inspiration. There is no doubt that the inspiration that started not only with Councilmember Rodriguez's vision, the clear direction of City Manager Ford of the project that we needed and the opportunity that we had. And as he mentioned, a great team has been assembled from all over the city, not only with the Cummings Group, but internally with Tom Balk and Brittany Combs really leading this project for us. But that inspiration has also spilled over, even in the past couple weeks, working with our stakeholders in the neighborhood groups. And the result of all of this is really giving us an opportunity to where we're going to celebrate cultural heritage at this park through a variety of natural and recreational amenities. We throw out that word vibrancy, and we think some of the imagery shows that, but just the opportunity for activation. Vibrancy, of course, is more than colors or equipment or vegetation. It's that sense of active and sense of community that we're looking to provide. It is one of our largest park projects and really a great sign of that investment in a quality of life. But it should perhaps be in bold on the bottom of that page. The fact that this is going to be Waco's all-inclusive park, all-inclusive playground, that we're really happy to take this step forward because we know we're not only creating a home for people here in Waco, but a destination for Texans. That destination, I wanted to give a little bit of a visual. And so the crazy city limits of Waco are there before you, but in yellow, what you see is our park property spread around town. And you see some neighborhood parks, which look like pocket parks here. But I wanted to note the red star in the middle is where this park is going to be. And when we look at community parks, we not often will look sometimes at functionality of that park, but you also look at location. And so centrally located, very easily accessible off of Valley Mills and I-35. It's just well suited. And as you can tell, it's accessible everywhere in Waco. It's a central location. And so we feel it also hits sort of a void in the center as well, where we have other regional or community parks like Cameron Park, Brazos Park East, we call the downtown parks up to the north side. But then when you go further south, we have Cottonwood Creek Golf Course, which takes up a good bit of property, but really no regional community destination on this side of town. So it's a great property located for us. Obviously, the opportunity to have this type of development within the core of the city is really a once in a lifetime. Now, with the purpose laid out and mentioned to create that inclusive park, wanted to give a little bit further dive into the site and really show how this is an area that sits adjacent and next to the former Floyd Casey Stadium. You'll see that noted in orange of that future Floyd Casey development that is underway. And really, once the site became available and kicked off in 2022, where that vision was laid out from our city leadership, but the master development agreement and that development starts taking place, and that opened the door to the park property across the way, which the city of Waco already owned. In 2022 and then in 23, council put forth the voice and the support and allocated $25 million for the park design and construction. And so with that type of investment, it's really honing in. We knew we could create something good, but where does that inspiration come to create something great? And that started with the community input in 2023, which our design team of Design Workshop, just tremendously skilled professionals, brought different groups together for the community input phase. And then with site analysis, you create that vision plan. And so we had a really comprehensive vision plan, and looking at that central location of how this park could help us not only with connectivity, but then also from the amenity side. And that amenity side, that's where the inclusivity comes in. From there, it's been a process. The design documents, the construction documents, all the way up until recently, the proposal packets and the strategies. It's been a continual stream of work to this project to make it great. A little bit of a visual, and I always say every time I look at this, it seems like somebody slipped in another arrow here, but a lot of steps. And I relate it to all Price is Right game, you know, to where it's the guy going up the Swiss Alps, just very, very cautiously here. We have been meticulous in this project because we know the stakes are high. But we are here. We have finalized those bidding negotiations and have a recommendation today. We are looking at a very quick turnaround. We want to capture the time and get out there within the next 4 to 6 weeks to get that construction kicked off with a project that will be taking place really heavily during the year of 2026.
Jonathan, we appreciate especially the Gen X and older viewers who are streaming this or watching on their cable televisions, the Price is Right reference. Just appreciate that, brother.
Okay. Maybe we'll bust out Plinko at a future event. So now that was a broad scope of our schedule, but it has been fast and furious. And as we've got a great team, a really finished strong mindset. And as you can see, just from a couple months ago, how much has been accomplished over the past couple weeks, getting those bid proposals and requests for proposals out, and then meeting with prospective contractors as well. That time process and a lot of questions come up because it is a very complicated project with moving parts. But we did have the bid scoring process and gone through some interviews to where here we are today recommending a bid award and hoping to get to that groundbreaking construction in September. So taking a little bit of deep dive and a lot of words here, so I'm going to walk through our proposal summaries and then the recommendation on the following slide. We did have 3 competitive bid packages that were submitted by the contractors there on your left. If you see those totals on your right, those are the bid totals, which includes the base bid along with alternates 1, 4, 5, and 6. Part of the strategy in this and work from the Cummings Group was really looking at, instead of just throwing everything that we want out to bid and maybe looking at a situation with economic uncertainties that the bids would be where they should, we couldn't afford them. We wanted to break that up into alternates. And so you see those totals, which our evaluation committee looked at on the right-hand side. That base bid, a little explanation of what was in there, and I've got a map that's going to follow coming up. But that was your site improvement and infrastructure. So also making sure that we're able to accomplish and deliver all the interpretive areas with naming honors going to Hispanic leaders in our community. And then those core park amenities, such as the inclusive playground, tying into our metropolitan trail system with trails going through the property, a community plaza, pavilion, and then also a pedestrian bridge to connect the site of the track stadium to the main park area. Back to those alternates of 1, 4, 5, and 6. That first alternate was the sports court area. Includes basketball courts, also pickleball courts. As you know, we've retrofitted some of our tennis courts in different park areas, but this will be our first investment into formal and professional style pickleball courts. So we're excited to bring that. Also includes the great lawn area, open and ability to host different community event. The All Wheels Park, and that is what you might see, you walk up and think a skate park, but it is designed for wheels of all types. And whether that be a wheelchair, whether that be a bike, whether it be a scooter. Right now, we have a skate park with bowls in it that is strictly really for skateboarders only, but this opens that up for the brave at heart. And then we also have that item number 5, or the all wheels number 5, and then playground procurement deduction. One thing, another strategy that our project management team came up with was looking at potential cost savings if we were to direct procure the playground from the company. And so that's a direction to where we ended up seeing about $300 in savings overall. You'll notice 2 and 3, those are the alternates for the track and field, and they are not included in the totals. However, that does not mean by any point that we're not going to be making improvements to the track and field. With our bid recommendation, we do have $2.2 million remaining in the overall budget to be allocated to the track and field. And we want to make sure we're getting our best bang for the buck there and really utilizing that money. With the current design and improvements that we have, of course, we want to do everything, but there is a little bit of look, and 2.2 million can go a long way to making sure that we maintain a very quality, high-level track presence as a lot of different schools and different programs take place there. So we are committed to that, and the updates will be a part of the project. Evaluation process and criteria, not just the pricing goes into play with a project like this. We also consider factors such as duration, project experience, and the project manager experience, and the company reputation. So we are recommending an award in the amount of $16.5 million to Millis Development and Construction. A little bit of difference, you saw those other prices were at the 23 range. That Millis bid did come in line with multiple project estimates performed not only from our consultant, but then also the Cummings Group. With offices in Austin, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Houston, Millis Development and Construction has a mix of public recreational projects and commercial projects in their portfolio. Focus on landscape architecture on a lot of those public projects, and currently have projects in cities such as McKinney, Frisco, and also Mansfield.
Jonathan, have you seen some of those projects?
Yes. That was part of the process and evaluation and making sure the project that they have worked on, some similar in scope and size, and they do have some really quality projects in the Metroplex right now. And where does that put us on the overall budget standing? If you remember one of the earlier slides, I mentioned that allocation of $25.3 million towards this project. Wanted to provide a breakdown of where we're at. And so that breaks down the money that's been spent on the professional services side, the construction allocation. I mentioned that playground equipment. That's taking it out to where we'll do a direct procurement of that, but then also keeping in a 6% contingency reserve on this project to make sure that we're able to cover any change orders or any changes in scope. And I mentioned the track scope reserve. We've got $2.2 million allocated right now to make sure that we have those upgrades in place.
Jonathan Holmes here. As we look at that track scope reserve,
Yeah.
I get this question a lot. I mean, are you guys going to tear down the track? No, we don't have any intentions of tearing it down. But with this 2.2 million, it feels like we have kind of a nice little bank of money here to kind of figure out how to best
Sure do.
utilize it and keep it as a track, but maybe fix up some things, get some rehab there. But I like the way the bid is kind of laying out.
Well, and there's no doubt, and right now there's not the conversations and not the intent as far as tearing that facility down. We did evaluate that early on, and as one of those, we'd be spending a little bit more probably to tear it down than the 2.2 million. So we know we're looking at surfacing, and one of the factors that we want to dive into is the infield of that area. Right now, it is specially designed for track and field infield. We would like to find a way to make it a little more multi-use, but that's a pretty heavy reconfiguration. So that's where we want to make sure we're getting the best value out of that funds to make sure it's functional and ADA accessible all around.
Great.
A little bit of a map here to walk through my attempt. It's a color coding here. But I wanted to explain, 25 million is a lot of money going to a park, and really wanted to show what are we getting for that 25 million and give a little bit of a breakdown. I mentioned the base bid and everything that's in there, and that's in that peach section in front. Everything from vegetation, parking, fountain, the playground stretching all the way across. The full size of this playground, really double or almost triple the size if you think of like Pecan Bottoms in Cameron Park, a long sprawling playground. That's how large we're thinking here. But that's shown in peach, that base bid area. The sports court area over to the right in the light orange, and that's complemented by the all wheels part. In the chart, you'll see that pricing for each of those areas with the sports court and the all-wheel part. And then also have the Great Lawn in there at a cost of just above $600,000. And that's the creation. You have to come in, obviously. You've got a looped walking trail around there and vegetation, but then also a lot of soil work to where it is not just an open field. You think back in the day, this is going to be a manicured lawn that's going to be evened out, and really creating that ability for a great picnic or community event. So layout in green, you have the track and field complex, and you see that connection. We wanted to make sure that pedestrian bridge connecting over to the green track area was an essential part of the project. Right now, that creek divides it all. So a lot of updates to the creek area and making sure that we're capturing sort of those scenic amenities as well. Y'all know I'm way more of a visual person, so now we get to the bright pictures to tell the story. And special thanks. Over the past couple weeks, I mentioned we've met with two stakeholder meetings, and Councilmember Rodriguez was great to come out. Love this picture, sharing the moment with her granddaughter as well, as we're walking through a lot of the inclusive elements. Because what we've also met with Mobility Waco, members from our Challenger League, just a variety of organizations to make sure that we're getting this right. And it's a continual conversation and a learning experience from us all, as we're not only incorporating art in the design and the historical Hispanic heritage, but then also playing in that imagination, movement, and music. Just a lot of different park opportunities, and you can see by some of these visuals the colors that you're going to see, the inclusive panels that we have, and really the design that we're going for is this has really been finalized and come to life, and really appreciate the input that we continue to get. And so it's just a project we're going to continue to fine-tune to make sure it's awesome.
Jonathan, back in the day, my family used to walk from Austin Avenue to Floyd Casey to see the football games, and you'd go from Franklin, along that, that group that's got Golden's Bookstore. Is that access still going to be there to this park?
It is, and I'm going to say it's 32nd Street.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It does come down. Those connections, really any way you go from this park, there are seeds that are planted to where we know there are updates and grades. But yes, that road at this point remaining open to where you'll be able to come down and connect to the park from the Austin Avenue neighborhood.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
A little further view in some of the imagery and some things that you've seen before, but I just want, as you enter the park, you'll come through this plaza area with an interactive lit fountain, and you see the community pavilion in the background. And then it opens up to that great lawn to where you have the ability to have food trucks and different activities going on. The sports courts, we've added some color elements in there as well. And always popular, our Kendrick Park, I always say that's our busiest sports court that we have in the South Waco area. And so just adding to that ability, but really looking at some flex usage of this area and making sure that we're prepared there. And then I mentioned the all-wheel course with a really cool design. I know my eye gravitates always to that tunnel. And bless anyone who's going to try, but I've seen pictures of it in other parks, and the skateboarders will. But I want you to notice sort of the soft edges in front and then in the back. There are different sections of this course to make sure it's designed for all abilities. And then here we go with a video that really gives you a good fly view and overview of what this park can become. Oh. That was me, sorry.
That's amazing. That's great.
I always say, if, we were to post that on YouTube, I'd probably have like 100 watches like in a row. It never gets old, but the cool part about it is it's now the reality, and we've got everything in place to really bring in a quality contractor that we feel. We've got a great team assembled on the project manage, and we're ready to deliver this project. So a couple closing notes. Important to note, we're on track and on budget, and we're very excited by the prospect of that, and with the ability to be able to get not only the base park, but the alternate amenities really important. With those base park amenities, also able to make sure we've come to the council before on the Hispanic heritage naming elements. That's everything from the pavilion, the playground, the track and field, and so we're going to be able to deliver there as well. We're going to continue the coordination, has made some really good meetings and have throughout the entire process, but making sure the neighborhood and stakeholder groups are staying updated and keeping them in tune, as this is going to be a people's park and a park for the whole community of Waco. And tonight, following the consideration of the agenda items related to the park, we'll be working with a contractor to begin mobilization, and the groundbreaking will be announced shortly to take place within the coming month. We estimate, number one question, how can we get this done? We do have an estimated project duration of 15 months. So we're gonna hit it quick, and then we're gonna be coming back into 26, be opening this park to the Waco community. With that, happy to take any questions and excited to talk about this update today. Thank y'all.
Any questions for Director Cook? Comments?
Thank you for your work. Amazing.
And I do feel like this is going to add to the park portfolio. This is going to add a lot of not only quality, but amenities that are, like you identified on that map, centrally located. I think like it's close to where I personally live. It's close to other council districts. It's, right off downtown. It's got the multi-abilities playground and sports court. I think this is just going to be such an enhancement to our park offering. So, really excited. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Jonathan, super excited about this All Abilities Park, and it's a park for all abilities and their families. I know you've been very intentional about how this works, and not just for the city of Waco. This is another project that we're doing for a region. We're doing it for all of Central Texas. So some people ask me, what does the city do? And we do all these things. Plus, we have these regional initiatives that we're very proud of and that we manage. You talked a little bit about that. I got to bring it up, Jonathan, but the Mobilize Waco meeting that I was at last week, you and Tommy Bach did a fantastic job of presenting this. So I got a little sneak peek, but I was really struck, and Mobilize Waco is a group, Toby Karofsky, Donna Dill, Meg Wallace, and the whole team out there, super group. I was really struck by their buy-in, and really they patiently watched the presentation and really the useful feedback. I mean, almost everything, every question, very patient, very respectful, and very pertinent questions on the design and the functionality and really the detail. And I was struck not only by the usefulness of their questions, but also your team graciously taking notes like crazy and making this an iterative project as it just gets better and better. I can see even from the beginning of that meeting to the end, it was like, yeah, we got all these more ideas that we're going to incorporate into this. But it was a cool meeting and fun to watch you guys in action. And I also said that I was taking notes, and I would ask you guys all the same questions today that they asked the other night, but I won't do that. Again, you guys were great. This is a great project. It's generational, and the Alice is going to be a reality here in the near future. So thanks for the presentation, and look forward to seeing this thing hit the ground.
Thank you, Council, and thank you for being at the meeting. We appreciate it. So.
We now move to, wow, we're like 15 minutes ahead of schedule for the first time.
Clint is very surprised right now. He's like, he thought he wasn't.
You wasn't ready for this.
Sorry, sir, I wasn't prepared to present
I
today.
haven't called on Clint
I'm
in
kidding.
a couple
Clint's
of
always
years. I don't think.
Yeah, our last work session council is going to be Clint Peters, so giving an overview of the planning public hearing items. Clint, for those that don't know, Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Bradley, Mayor, Council. We do have 7 public hearings tonight. You can see them there. They're spread out all over the city. I believe we have at least one in every council district. We have 2 special permits. One is a farmer's market permit in China Spring, and another is a STR permit. We have 1 final PUD, and then 4 rezonings. I'm just going to highlight one of these, but if you have any questions on any of the others, I'd be happy to answer those. So the one I'm going to highlight is 562. This is the final PUD for the Hilltop addition out on Loop 340 and Hermosa Drive. Just a little refresher about our PUD process. It is a 2-step process. A concept plan approval, which is actually the act of rezoning the property, which council did approve on first reading in the June 17th meeting, and the second reading at the August 5th meeting. And so that is the, entitles the property with the new zoning that allows the 63 residential units that they're proposing from R1B, which was single-family zoning, which would allow 49 units. The second step of the process is the final PUD, and the final PUD process is a resolution where we look at 3 different things. Does it match the concept plan? In this case, because of the interest in the concept plan, we did require additional information with the design and some of the residential elevations of the property. So actually what they submitted with their concept was final plan level detail. So it is consistent with the concept plan. The next thing is we look at, is there enough shared open space? Because of the close proximity to Buena Vista Park, and the small size of the property, it was decided to take advantage of the public space to require connectivity to the Buena Vista Park. So it will have a sidewalk that connects from the development into the park, into the trail system of the park, over 600 feet off-site. And then all the streets internally to the subdivision will have sidewalks as well. A little bit more, so this shows, and then the third item that we look at for the final PUDs is the infrastructure sufficient? And they have submitted all their plans, their traffic, their engineering design standards that meets all of our City of Waco standards, including detention, utilities. They submitted a traffic study to both the city and TxDOT, because Loop 340 is a TxDOT road. TxDOT did require some improvements to their entry and exit. So it'll be a right-in, right-out only out to Loop 340. And then all of the other standards, development standards have been met. So it does meet all 3 of our requirements for approving the final PUD plan. That's part of your recommendation tonight. This slide just shows the plan. So it is 63 single-family lots. They are 40-foot lots. And so that is different than our standard single-family zoning that requires a 50-foot lot. So that's the purpose of the PUD. So the density is a little higher. It goes from 49 units to 63 units. They will have a little bit different setback. The front setback will have 25 feet, which is standard from the garage facade, and then a 20-foot setback from the house facade. And then you can see the side corners and rear will be a little bit different than our standard. We'll have sidewalks on all the street, and again, we'll have that connection to the park. And then we do have residential design standards, and they provided elevations for their homes. Our ordinance does require facade variations in a 6-lot pattern, and they have submitted those, and it does meet our requirements for that. And so Plan Commission did recommend approval of the final PUD plan by a vote of 9-0 because it does meet all the requirements for approving the final PUD plan. We did receive a petition in opposition for this request. Because this is a final plan, it does not, the supermajority threshold does not apply to this because it's not a rezoning ordinance. If they had submitted that petition with the rezoning that's already been approved, it did not hit that 20% threshold anyway. It was about 12% of the area within the 200 feet. Any questions on that one?
No, we've commented on this one. I guess it's been here, this will be the third time through-ish. There's just the housing need and the neighborhood need there. I like the way he had resolved the density challenge with the context of Buena Vista Park being right there, and that you have a place that's very nearby for green space and solve to that. And the sidewalks on in both sides of the street, right?
That's correct.
So anyway, yeah, I guess we'll talk more about it tonight.
And I wasn't going to highlight any of the others. They were all recommended by a vote of 9-0 with either no or little opposition. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions for Director Peters on those? No questions. Thanks a lot, Clint.
Thank you.
We'll see you, see you tonight. City Manager Ford, is that it? We got through everything. I think it's the first time in a long time.
With no breaks.
Great. Oh, that's right. We've been sitting here the whole time with just hanging on a thread for a quorum here. Okay, the next section is future agenda items. Are there any requests for future agenda items? We don't have any, so we will now recess the work session and reconvene the regular session for executive session as read into the record by the city secretary at 4:39 p.m.
Notice is hereby given that the city council will go into executive session in accordance with the following provisions. Attorney briefing, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.071, nuisance abatement regarding criminal activity under the Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code, Chapter 125, and possible council action to authorize, number one, pursuing such abatement, and number two, hiring outside counsel to assist in such pursuit. Real property, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072, economic development, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.087, and personnel, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.074, municipal court judge Robert Garcia. We are now in executive session.